You're listening to the best Phillies sports show in the Northeast on Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another Philly sports show with my main man, El Parcero Philly, and myself, the Philly sports guy. And we're here live on Facebook, YouTube. I'm sure he's going on TikTok. I decided to go off on TikTok today. Northeast Streaming Sports Network and on Zodiac TV. We're hitting them all today. That's why we do it here in Philadelphia. Philly strong, Philly loud. And we got lots and lots and lots to talk about today.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. And, let's start off. We're going to start it off real quick. We'll start with all the bad news. Let's start with the bad news. First and foremost, just because I want to get them out of the way quick, because there ain't much to talk about except for the fact that they decided they didn't want to practice today. The Philadelphia Eagles, with a brand new coach and all of that stuff that they've got going on, have decided to opt out of their mandatory practices. And I know, and I heard that there's a lot of other teams that did that exact same thing, but we got a brand new coach. We got a whole bunch of different stuff, a brand new quarterback, really.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we're deciding that we ain't going to practice.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so a lot of teams have opted to do the same thing. No voluntary workouts. I mean, they're, considering that we are going through a pandemic, some teams do feel like it's best to just not do it. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, the Philly sports guy. We're talking about a Philadelphia Eagles team that's implementing a new system. With Sirianni, he doesn't know a lot of these guys. This is a big job. Like, this team was bad last year. They're a 4-win team for a reason. So you'd hope that they would want to take advantage of those voluntary workouts, but that's not the case. They're just going to go right into training camp. And honestly, it does suck. Also, too, those kids that are trying to make a roster, trying to make a name for themselves, those voluntary workouts is where they set the tone. They make their good first impression, and they set the momentum leading into training camp, and they don't get that opportunity this year as well. And I promise you, the Philly sports guy, the quality of football that will be played in the NFL will go down this year. And for all those people who are upset with me when I told you guys that the next 5 to 10 years, the NBA will overtake the NFL, these are one of those reasons why. The quality of play is going to go down. So we'll see how the NFL will react to this. As an Eagles fan, not too happy with it. Listen, I'm all for player safety. I've been advocating every time. I always criticize the NFL because I feel like they don't do enough for player safety, especially a dangerous sport like football. But this, to me, just feels like the opposite. You would think that this helps in the player safety, but in order to go out and play every given Sunday and to play at your best, you need to be prepared. And if you're not prepared, this sport is dangerous. It could lead to injury. So I'm not on board with this. So, yeah, you could write me off for this one, man.
Well, and just between everything else that's going on, I mean, it's like, how is it that you decide that I understand it's COVID, but these guys continually do not want to practice. They continually not want to do it. And I feel like that's the reason why everybody's getting hurt. That's why everybody's getting injured. So, all right, you're going to do it. I'll tell you what, you guys aren't playing the way I want you to be playing. You're going to hear me about it. You're going to hear about it. And I'm not going to be quiet. I'm not going to be silent, because it's hard work. It takes a lot of work to win the ring.
Yeah.
I know how much work. I remember we were all there. We were all part of it. That work started in the offseason when Carson Wentz took all of his receivers and the tight ends, and they went up to North Dakota. That's when our season started. Started way back in like April. Because they did it before the draft. It was cold up there. There was nothing else to do except throw the ball back and forth.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to put in that type of work, that means you ain't going. And all these teams that are going to wind up going and going to their mandatory practices are going to wind up having a leg up. And you watch whoever those teams are, I want to find out exactly who they are because I'm not even a betting guy. I don't bet very often, but I'm be willing to take whatever their over under is. I'm going on the over now because those guys are going to be a little bit more prepared than everybody else.
I'd agree, man. It's definitely some valuable stuff there. We'll see it. We'll see how it works out here, man. Definitely not how you want to see it, but I agree with you. Those are the moments that start your run for a good season. It really does, and that's the same way it was back in 2017. So yeah, definitely not some good news here for Eagle, depending how you look at it. But for us, I mean, we're definitely not happy for it after the season that we had. I mean, we'll see. Now we got the and also too, like, all these Zoom chats and Zoom calls. Like, I'm sure we got enough kids that are going to school that have been through Zoom school. It is hard to pay attention through a Zoom Zoom call, and to think that Nick Sirianni will be able to get through his guys, implement this new system through Zoom calling is a lot to ask for. So we'll see here, man. But we're close to the draft. Were we going to half away from the NFL draft, my man? We're getting close to it.
I'm getting excited. I'm getting all
Philly
prepared.
Sports Guy's got his bags packed already.
Yeah, not yet, not quite yet, but I'm working on it. I am definitely working on it. Like, I'm getting all my stuff together, making sure that everything's working properly because I'm going to be doing some shows up there, lots of interviews, going to be getting everything that I can happening up there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Right.
I don't even know if they're going to let me into the draft. It's like I can't seem to get an answer from anybody. But I'm going out there either way. And if they ain't going to let me in the draft, I'm going to stand right outside the door so that they're going to have to deal with me because I'm going to still be the loudest guy there. Yeah, ain't nobody got a louder microphone than me. You know that. So
let the Philly Sports Guy in, NFL.
Exactly. Because I know that they will. It's not the NFL that I'm worried about. It's the Eagles. The Eagles don't ever give me, like, I've emailed them. It's like, I don't know what else I got to do. I don't understand why they don't want to pay me no mind. You know what I mean? I was shown on TV more than anybody else. I told them I'm going. I went ahead and got vaccinated a couple weeks ago to make sure that I was all ready to go. And now here it is. It's coming close to the draft. Here it is. I'm going to be there. So
he's going to be there.
Whether you have me there or not. Whether you want me there or not, I'm going to be there. You're stuck with me.
You love to see it. The Philly Sports Guy. So right now, I do have I have a TV screen next to me. I am choosing to prioritize the Phillies for right now, only because Mr. Gabe Kapler's back in town, my man.
That is correct. Gabe Kapler is back.
Cap is back.
I want you to talk about this for a second. I'm hearing that we're buffering. I want to try to boost up my Wi-Fi here. Give me 1 second.
No worries. Right now, so we got it's about to get started here. It's 7:05 first pitch, so any minute now they'll get started here. Obviously, Gabe Kapler returning back to South Philly, first time. I'm really intrigued. We can't hear. I'm sure I'll listen to it a little bit later, but really intrigued to hear as they're showing all the roster moves today. Obviously, we have no Jose Alvarado, Ronald Torres, Matt Moore. No, they're on the COVID list. Metan, he's up here as well as I just missed that name there, but now we're getting started here. Really want to see. I haven't seen Chase Anderson pitch either. I've seen plenty Noel, plenty Wheeler, plenty Eflin. I've seen more than enough of Matt Moore. Yet to see Chase Anderson, so that's kind of why I'm prioritizing the Phillies tonight because I really want to see what Chase Anderson does. I think this rotation is solid. I just think that Matt Moore is just not the answer in the four-hole. Philly Sports Guy, I'm not sure if you saw, but I was there, which is a nice first out by Reese Hoskins. Good catch there. One out here for the Giants now. But Saturday, I was there with 444 Philly fan, and I saw Kata. I was with the Fandemic crew. Philly Sports Guy, Matt Moore, I'm done with the optimism with him. I think I'm good. I've seen enough. I don't think he's a starter anymore. I wouldn't be opposed to putting him back in the bullpen because I do think he's a pitcher that gives you a solid inning. More than that, nah, I'm good on that. So I think I'm ready to put him back there. But that was of course I was there for the only loss in that series, the 9-4 loss to St. Louis Cardinals. But this Phillies team, as Mike Yastrzemski is up now for the Giants. But for this Phillies team, it's still pretty solid. The bats need to come more alive. I feel like the first night they took advantage of some mistakes by the Cardinals. I saw in the ninth inning of Saturday's game, the Phillies left bases loaded and ended the game like that off of Didi Gregorius line drive out to right field. So more runs need to be scored. And obviously, yesterday, the big performance by Aaron Nola. He went 9 scoreless innings. It was a fantastic performance. He was wheeling and dealing, 10 strikeouts, only allowed 2 hits. He looked like an ace. He flat out looked like an ace, and that is why myself, like I always say, like he's my guy, he's my ace. But he needs to be more consistent with that. He needs to do that at night in and night out. He needs to be able to, in the crucial times, we're talking like September playoff moments, when you need a win. You hand the ball to Aaron Nola. You know Aaron Nola is going to get you that win, and that's what we need. Aaron Nola to have that type of conviction. But still pretty early in the season, and for the Phillies, they're going to go for their 4th straight home series win. Hopefully, we can get that started tonight.
Well, and so it's interesting because, of course, the first question that is asked, and it bring up by our main man Ed, who's I appreciate he's with us every week. It seems. He's asked, who would you put in if you put more in the pen? Truth of the matter is that I would switch more in with double V. And because every time we get a double V out there, we don't ever get the double U. And that's, of course, that's Vince Velasquez. I don't care that he would even get, he's good for 1 inning as well. I wouldn't mind moving Matt Moore to the long relief guy. I think that's really his spot, but if that's the case, bring up Spencer Howard. You're.
I agree. Did we see him in a bullpen outing a couple of weeks ago? But I agree. I think I'm ready to see Spencer Howard come back in here. We saw some good stuff from him last year when he did get some of those starting roles. But no, I agree. I've seen enough of Matt Moore. Let's see what we have with Spencer Howard. And at that point, Spencer's not the answer. Then the Phillies know they got to make a move in a trade sort of way. So we'll see.
Right, because everybody else that's on there, I mean, he's the only one that I can really see worthwhile. As I'm looking here a little bit, like I don't know that JoJo Romero is a starting pitcher, although I kind of like him. I like him in the bullpen. I would rather have him up here. Everybody else is, Christopher Sanchez is not really that guy.
There's nothing really besides Spencer Howard. I mean, we don't want like you said, we don't want to see Vinny V back as a starter.
No, I'm not a fan of him.
Nah.
That ship has definitely sailed.
He almost won 3 innings as well on Saturday too, coming out of the bullpen. JoJo's unfortunate he allowed that 3-run homer, but he's another guy. It's like he's an inning guy. He's just get out there for 1 inning and then you just take him out. But it's tough right now.
Right. And my thought is, I mean, it wasn't so long ago that they were only 4 pitcher rotations, 4-man rotation. Now, I understand that the world is a different place now, but realistically, it ain't so different. You know what I mean? Every 4 pitchers is like a fifth, is over 5 days. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind. Bring up anybody, trade for somebody. You know what I mean? Get somebody. There's got to be somebody out there. Or you can't do it by committee because our bullpen's just not strong enough. You know what I mean? I feel like that's our biggest. That's still our biggest weakness. Our bullpen is just weak.
Yeah.
And until we can get that locked down better, we're going to continue to run into the losses that we have sometimes. You know what I mean?
At least this bullpen hasn't blown you games like last season. It felt like last year, every other night, this bullpen was blowing a game. So,
I felt that they blew a game against Atlanta, but that's just one, and it is against Atlanta.
It did.
But those are the games you can't blow.
No, I agree.
You know what I mean? That Alvarado again. There's a and I play slow pitch softball, and we started off this season. Of course, my team went 0-2 this week. But we had some fighting us. I hit a home run and a triple, kind of. You know what I mean? I hit a home run, because they didn't play it right. I hit a triple because the guy dropped the pop fly, and it was just a long pop fly. But it counts as a triple in our books. Anyways, but when you have when you have bases loaded or first and third, you tell the pitcher where he's got to go with the ball. If he gets And the fact that they didn't do that, or they did do that, and he didn't come in. That was poor. That was just poor.
Absolutely.
And it cost him the game.
So for me, the biggest glaring needs is another starter, and obviously center field is still a problem. So for the Phillies, with a team that doesn't have a lot in the pipeline to kind of give away in a potential trade, like does this team prioritize? Like, what do you need more? Do you need that guy out in center field who can bat and play center field, or do we go and get that starter? I think that's going to be the dilemma. We still got some time as Chase Anderson survives that first inning, leaves a guy out on third base, and he strikes out the batter, and we're going to the bottom of the first. But that's kind of where I'm at. And obviously, we saw Mickey Moniak make his debut in 2021 for the Phils this weekend. It wasn't inspiring. It was kind of the same thing I saw last year, and it's still some time. He's still young, but that was kind of – it was a little upsetting to see him like still look the same as last year. And obviously, Roman Quinn, who's not even 100, doesn't even average 100 as a batter right now, which is kind of bad as well. I think today we got
He's
Mickey
got a batting
Moniak.
average now. He didn't even have one for a long time.
It's pretty rough. So so let me ask you, what's in your opinion, what's more important that the Phillies fix right now? Is it the center field or is it another starting pitcher after Eflin?
I don't think center field, as long as center field doesn't become a defensive liability, I'm okay with the fact that we have a problem at the plate from the center field position. He's only in the number 8 spot. I'm not really concerned about it. Realistically, that it is what it is, as far as I'm concerned with that. And I think about Bryce Harper when he came up to the major league level at age 19 and he was really young. It took him a year or two to get himself acclimated here. I mean, he got a couple of swings, but for the most part, he was hurting. You know what I mean? He wasn't all-star material right away, and that's the difference. So I'm okay with it taking a minute. I know that we have not heard anything from our other buddy that's down there in the minors, so which means that he's probably not doing so well. What's his face? Second base.
Huh? Oh, wait, who are you talking about? Second base. Scott Kingery. Scott Kingery.
Yeah, thank you. I haven't heard much about him, which makes me wonder if he's not doing anything down there. It's because I mean, if we want to try to do better at the bat, that's who you'd go with at this point. And
you're still not ready for a double?
No, I think the backlash of that move would really start to put a damper on the season. And I don't know that the Phillies can weather that.
I hear you. I mean, I will say, I think there's a reason why he's not here. I really do. And I don't think he's learned his lesson. And he didn't light up spring training, but to me, he was the best center fielder in spring training. But I think the Phillies know something that we don't. And I think that's why he's not here.
I agree.
That's just me personally.
I heard that like when they had him up here, he was shunned from everybody. It was like I heard this firsthand from somebody who was there when they got all off the plane that he was not standing with the team. He was segregated from the team. And that made me believe right then and there that he wasn't going to be on it. When I heard that and that he's not going to come back, that they are not going to align with him in any way, shape, or form. And that it's easier to say we have our 8-hole is going to stink and not have a good batting average there, but it's not going to be a defensive liability. Right. I mean, as of right now, the fact that he was batting 100, Roman Quinn, or under 100, isn't as big a deal as him throwing that guy out at the plate. That was the difference between a win and a loss. So you can go at 0 for 8. He didn't have a batting average at the time. You know what I mean? So who cares? You know what I mean? Make those plays at the plate, save those runs, and all of a sudden I don't care as much. You know what I mean? And that's where the big deal becomes.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You also were so the other news of this game is you're getting Nick Maton in his debut here with the Phillies in 2021. He's getting a start for Didi Gregorius, so we'll see what he's gonna do. As Bryce Harper is going up to bat, no men on base, 2 outs already. McCutcheon gets a pop-up out, and Reese Hoskins gets struck out to start this game for the Phils. And the Sixers are actually about to get underway as well.
Right. Yeah, they started at 7 o'clock tonight. Who are they up against tonight? Who
The
we got?
Golden State Warriors, Steph
The
Curry.
Warriors. That's right.
Warriors.
They're just a shell of themselves from a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
They're
man.
definitely not the same team
So
anymore.
the thing is though, Steph Curry's coming off one of his best weeks this season. He had 39 straight threes. He's like prime Steph Curry, but the problem is for them is obviously the supporting cast is not like what it was when he was in his prime. So Steph is balling out of his mind, but the team around him is not that talented. Kelly Oubre, who was a guy who was contributing for them, he's more likely out tonight. I think he's out. For us, we have Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, Dwight Howard, and there's George Hill might actually play tonight. George Hill might actually play that. All four of those guys are questionable. I would prefer Toby not to play. I don't think there's any need to play him. And I mean, the talk of the NBA is of late, the Philly sports guys been this whole load management controversy.
Right.
There's both sides to it. Obviously, for the Sixers, we're sick and tired of Brooklyn not giving us their full strength in the regular season. But then there's the other side. Denver just lost Jamal Murray. Now, Denver was about to make a run for the finals. I think you can count them out because I think without Jamal Murray, they're not. That was a difference maker for them. That's a talented team, but with Jamal Murray, with his clutch gene that he has, he would have taken them to the next level. So, load management has been a topic of conversations late for the NBA. I'm okay with sitting Tobias Harris for however many games we need to because for me, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris, all three of those players, super important for us to make a playoff run going forward.
Right. I agree. And in fact, I would say Tobias Harris is probably more important than either Joel or
he's so like people don't realize he's super important both on and off the court for these guys.
Right.
Because Toby's like he's the glue that meshes all of it together. He's good buddies. He's really close with all those role players. Obviously, Joel and Ben are star players, but Toby's been playing like a star player on his own. He's our closer. Last minute, I want to give him the ball and close out the games. So Tobias is super important for what we want to do. Also helps with the spacing because, look, we know what this team is. Joel is going to kill you down low. You're not going to guard him from anywhere on the court. Ben is going to facilitate the ball, play that defense, lead the counterattacks, the quick transition games. He's going to do his thing. So between Seth, Danny, and Tobias, they need to be able to create that space so that Ben and Joel can do their thing, and that is when we kill you.
Right. And, I mean, and not for nothing, but I am still – I want to see Dwight Howard get re-signed here.
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
I want to see Dwight Howard. I feel that he has been such an underrated signing.
Such a steal. $2 million for one season for the contributions he's given you.
Right,
and
absolutely.
And just to think that we came from that Al Horford deal, who Dwight is essentially doing what Al's doing, but he's a lot cheaper, and you're not mad at it.
And a lot better at it. You know, he's been, and you know what? Like I said, I love it when a guy can play to the crowd some. He's an eccentric guy. You know what I mean? And right. I understand because of his eccentricities. You know, he has some issues with other teams. I feel like that's been causing some of the problems that he has in other places. I don't think that they have that problem here. You know, that's why he's such a good fit. And I hope they re-sign him here. I hope they re-sign him. The problem becomes is that he's earned more money. You know, right. And I think another team will pay him a lot more money.
We shall see, but he's definitely – it's crazy because as old as he is, he's starting to try to – sort of like finding his way later in his career, you hear him talk about it. He realizes that, it's about the team. It's not just about him. And in his prime, when he was, putting up 20 and 12 every single night, he was a selfish player. He was like, he had to put up his numbers, and if he didn't, he felt like the team wasn't going to win. But last season with the Lakers, he kind of learned, I got to play my role, and I got to help my teammates, and whatever I can possibly do. You see him on the bench creating that energy. He's playing with the fans. He's creating energy for the players on the court. And those are the things that really go a long way. Him and Danny bringing that experience, bringing that Lakers locker room, that championship mentality here with Doc, his pedigree as well. That's been huge too, man. Guys like Joel, Ben, and even Tobias, who've never been in really winning situations like that. It's definitely going to be a difference maker. I'm excited for the playoffs, man. I'm really excited for these playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it just feels like we're in a crash course to meet with Brooklyn in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I'm telling you, the Philly sports guy, it's going to be one of the best series in NBA history. I'm telling you. Offense versus defense.
I kind of agree with you. You know what? I kind of liken it to the Sixers Celtics back in I think it was 1981 or 82.
Yeah, it could be like that.
Where it could go 6 or 7 games. And I'll never forget. Like, I remember that series. I remember watching it on a little TV that wasn't much bigger than like this, and being like the kid around all these adults, and we're watching that. And then you hear at the end of the game, because the Celtics knew that they were going to lose, and they're yelling, "Beat LA, beat LA, beat LA" from the Celtics crowd. It's one of those times in sports moments that I'll never forget. You know what I mean?
Of course.
It's one of those things that when you hear a whole nother city give the respect to a team, to like, hey, listen, and that's they had the Boston. We had the Boston Strangler on that team. I mean, Tony just killed them that series. Tony killed them that series. And then we ran into Magic Johnson as a center, and that's how we lost that series. We didn't win that series, but it's those types of moments that when you remember, it's just
so true.
That was a great series with Boston and Philly.
So let me ask you, where were you when Dr. J and Larry Bird went at it?
When did that happen? 1985, 86?
I think it wasn't it during like when we were going at it for all those?
No, it was after. It was after. I tell you what, Larry Bird was having a great game that game.
As he always did.
It was he had 40 points already in the third quarter. He was taking Doc to school that day and talking his smack, and Doc just clocked him. He just talked way too much, and Doc clocked him. But I want to say that was like 84, 85. It was definitely after they won the championship. It was towards the latter part of the years. It was, I want to say it was like 85. And if it was 85, 86 season, I was working. I was working at the Spectrum, because I kind of remember that all happening and watching that game. I'm just like, damn, Larry Bird can't be stopped today. Just couldn't be stopped. And like I said, he had 40 points within 3 quarters, and then the fight, and then they both got ejected, and
So on Saturday, I was walking out of the Citizens Bank Park with 444 Philly fan, and I stopped in a spot where would have been right in front of the vet. And I was looking at it, and I was like, dude, once upon a time, the vet was right here, and right behind that was the Spectrum. And I just would love to just vision that for one day, because obviously I'm in that younger type of fan that I wasn't blessed enough to live. I've been in the Spectrum. Been in the Spectrum as a child. I watched the Phantoms play when the Phantoms used to play in the Spectrum for those couple seasons. But
and then there was JFK behind that.
That's right, back in the day. Back in the day. But yeah, man, that's.
I mean, because we're talking around that same time frame when we're talking about Larry Bird and Doc going at it. I mean, that was right around the same time as Live Aid.
Oh my God.
So
Memorable concert.
I like I said, I remember we went down there, we partied a little bit, but I couldn't get in. So yeah, we wound up yeah, and
That's
I know
awesome.
you're older than that. Ed's saying, yeah, he's that old. I'm like, yeah, so am I, Ed, is the problem. I remember that too.
That is why you guys listen to the Philly Sports
That's
Show.
where
We
they
give
used
you
to
history lessons.
that's where they used to have the Army Navy games. They used to have them
Oh,
in there.
right.
Yeah, in JFK. Because really, Live Aid was the last really big event that happened there. There wasn't much else that happened in that stadium. It wasn't. It was just getting old. That stadium was just getting old. But the vet was always old. They built it old. You know what I mean? Is kind of the problem with that. It's like I'll never forget when they had to cancel a preseason game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, hey, I tripped on that turf. That's how I won my jersey.
Brian Billick wasn't having it, man.
Not only Brian Billick wasn't having it, but I like I said, I did my obstacle course to win the jersey that you see me wear, the number 11 jersey.
That's
I tripped on that turf. I was the first one to tackle Brian Westbrook, and all he was doing was signing autographs.
right. That's awesome. These are great stories. Great stories.
But and the Spectrum, yeah, there were places in the Spectrum where you couldn't see the entire game because you had a pillar in front of you.
Oh, right.
And they had seats there. It was cheaper seats. Yeah, it was cheaper to buy those seats because you'd have to look around the pillar. But the acoustics in that building were amazing, and you were on top of the ice, like you were looking.
He gets those night before jitters. He goes into the Spectrum, and they really did a good job of showing like every angle of the Spectrum. You really get it all. And the great scene where he's like, "You got the short color wrong. I'm wearing white shorts." And they put the red shorts on it. One of my favorite movies. Philly cliche, I know, but it's just something about Rocky. It's the way I live my life. So definitely a great way to check out the Spectrum.
I loved that place. Like I mean, so now we'll go back into the history of the Philly sports guy. What made me the Philly sports guy? I mean, I used to go to Flyers games. I used to work as a busboy in the Ovations Club. For Ed, who remembers, it was originally called the Blue Line Club, and then it switched to Bullies after the Flyers moved over to the new stadium. And so I would go there and I'd be working as a busboy, was making great money. As 14, 15 years old, I was splitting tips and making $7.50 an hour as a busboy because it was a union gig.
That's
and my
nice.
mother and my grandmother worked there. And then after I'd get done work, I would go and I'd watch the game. And I would sit there and I'd go where the Zamboni would go in and out. And I would hang there and watch all the games. I knew the players pretty well. I got to pull so that Eric Lindros wouldn't have to go out the front door and get mobbed by everybody. I would pull his car around back, and so he would go up through the tunnel so that he didn't have to be seen by anybody. So he would throw me his keys and I'd pull his car around. Yeah.
Yo, kid, get my car.
Well, yo, kid, he was younger than I was. You know what I mean? So he's like a little younger than me, like 2 years younger than me.
Did he have the mullet?
I'd bust his balls, like he'd bust my balls a little bit, like, hey, I see the kind of car I got, right? You see the chicks I'm pulling, right? And I'm like, yeah, but I can go have a beer legally. You know what I mean? So that was about the bust that I had because he was the man and I was just a bus boy. But you know what I mean? I got to do my thing. I mean, my first beer ever was at a Christmas party held by the Flyers, given to me by Mark LaForest, who was a goalie, backup goalie for the Flyers for a little while.
A lot of history with you and the Flyers, man.
Oh yeah, like I remember going to Christmas parties and stuff like that with them. And I'll tell you the reason why Luzinski is one of my favorite players. I remember at 7 years old, I went into work with my mother, and the same union had the contract over at the vet too. So I went in there and they were doing some type of event. It was like probably the circus or something that my mother had to work for. And I was going to the circus and she brought me into work because I was going to the show. And one of the guys was like, "Hey, listen, I'll bring him over there and we'll introduce him to the Phillies." So they take me into the dugout, and there's Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton, who was really super quiet, and Greg Lazinski, and we introduce him, and he's like, "This is the bull, Greg Lazinski," and he looks at me and he goes, "I eat little kids for breakfast." And like it was like kind of scary to me. I'm like, oh,
He was a big dude, man. Big dude.
And it was just that's why I say it was like, but it was awesome. It was awesome, kind of being in that environment, and just like, and those are things that I'll never forget. Like those things are like ingrained in my head, you know. Just I could say that one of the best times they ever had at the vet was watching Mitch Williams pitch a 1-2-3 ninth inning against Atlanta to win the NLCS in '93. Yeah.
Saw a real in the next section over me in the Phillies game Saturday. Saw this beautiful. I wanted to buy it off of Mitch Williams jersey. Had the '93 World Series patch on the sleeve. Oh my God, loved it. Great player, Mitch Williams.
I'm sure that guy's not ready to give that up either.
Nah, he probably wouldn't.
Yeah. And I tell you what, here's the one thing that I didn't realize, because I didn't get to watch that game on Saturday. But you guys got host. Nobody could come into our stadium wearing powder blues.
Oh yeah, I was not.
And they were wearing powder blues.
Yeah, man.
I when I saw that, I'm like, no wonder they lost. Yeah, other than the fact that every time I think Carter Hart goes to a game, they lose.
I will say I'm 0 for 2 at Phillies games as a Parcero Philly. So in 2019, I went to a Dodgers game. We lost like 22-9. I'm not even kidding. It was bad. Like it was in that run with the Phillies and Kapler, like where it's like the season needs to end, man. Yeah. So like Saturday, it was the pitching. Matt Moore just couldn't get out of it. He allows like 6 runs. JoJo comes in, closes out the inning. Next inning, allows a 3-run homer, and it's just like hard to get away. So then in the 9th inning, you're like, it's over. But then the Phillies get the bases loaded, and you're like, oh, all right, let's go. We got a ball game here. I think Alec Bohm was coming up. You're hoping he gets a grand slam or something, at least get some runs in. He gets out. Didi gets out, and the game was over. So you end the game with bases loaded.
Couple things happened in that game. In the 7th inning, bases loaded, and what's his name? 2 outs, comes up, and what's his name? Struck out. Oh my Lord, why is these names are like escaping me right now? Plays first base.
Rhys Hoskins, Brad Miller.
Rhys Hoskins. He was 3 for 3. Bases are loaded. Bases are loaded, and he struck out swinging. He had a great at bat, though. He had like 10 pitches, 11 pitch at bat. He was fouled a lot off. Struck out swinging. Came up in the 9th with the bases loaded, 1 out, and struck out again.
Yep, that's right. Remember that? Yeah, because he started off really well, and it's like we need him in the clutch, and he didn't really come up too clutch. So
right,
and no Bryce Harper either. That was the tough part as well. Someone behind me was like, "Do we get our money back because we didn't see Bryce Harper?" I was like, "There's other players on this team."
Go ahead and ask. You could ask him if you get your money back. See how that works for you.
Big slap in the face.
But he came back out. He came back out the next night. Hit a home run.
Yeah, that's right. And a beautiful performance by Aaron Nola. What'd you think of Aaron Nola's performance?
I couldn't watch much of the game because I was playing softball, and then I went and got ready for the Flyers game. So, which we will start talking about here very soon. It was, that's the way Nolan's supposed to pitch. That's the way he's supposed to pitch. And I feel like that when he comes in after a loss, that he's got to pitch that way. So, and the fact that he's all calm, cool, and collected about it all the time, that's the way I want him to be. I want him, I don't ever want to see him get excited because I feel like that's when he starts to get excited is when he starts to not pitch as well.
Right. When he's sitting there just controlling the game, it's so much fun to watch. It really is. He's a fun pitcher to watch. It's just been the consistency and the clutch. He hasn't really been clutch. We always talk about those late season collapses that not just the Phillies, but he's had as well. So for me, yeah, I want to keep seeing that, but I want to see him. I want to see him play in October. I really do. I want to see what Aaron Nola can do in October. Really show what he has. There's a lot of talks whether or not Aaron Nola is an ace. A lot of talks whether or not Aaron Nola belongs in top 10 starting pitchers conversation. And I want Aaron Nola to just shut the critics up. And the way you do that is with your play. You keep playing like you did yesterday, you're definitely gonna get there, man. But loving what I'm seeing from Nola from that game, and hopefully he continues on in the next start, man.
Hey, and in the ninth inning, he struck out the side. I mean, you heard Kapler, not Kapler. Oh, wow.
Whoa.
You heard Girardi say that there was no thought of even taking him out. Didn't matter if he had first and second with one out in the eighth inning. He was not going to pull him out. He was always going to bat Nola, and he was going to go out and finish that game. And that was a good idea because he struck out the side in the ninth.
Nola would have fought him, man.
So Nola would probably be just like, all right, yeah, whatever. So, but those mistakes don't happen anymore when you have our manager instead of the guy who's on the other side this time.
That's right.
I hope somebody brought the coconut oil for him.
So it is. We're in the top of the second here. It is 1 out, man on first and second. Crawford just hit a pop up out. Mickey Moniak caught it. So nice little catch by Moniak as well.
All right, good. Like I said, I don't care if they don't hit, as long as there's no defensive lapses.
Right.
Keep the defense strong. I don't care if you don't hit.
Right. I agree with you, man.
So, but anyways, and of course, we could talk about the other team that was playing last night. That just to jump in a little bit there, our Flyers. I was at the game, and they played a pretty good game. In the third period, they had a little bit of a lapse, so it wasn't as strong. But
I saw that it was a good bounce back performance too, man.
Yeah, it just the Islanders were in a little bit of a tough spot. They've lost a few games.
Right.
I thought that the Flyers, it was a game the Flyers should have won.
Right.
I would even almost go to say that they probably deserved to win, but the Flyers got to stop being cute with the puck. They got to stop being cute with the puck. I'm sorry. Are we keeping you up over there? You've been yawning a lot over there.
So it's a long day, but we're going strong, man. We're going strong. These Phillies need to score some runs too, man. That'll wake me up.
But they just too cute with the puck too often.
Still doing that?
Just like not why pass when you have an open shot on the net. It's like 3 or 4 times yesterday, 3 or 4, maybe even more, 5, times that they literally had the shot and passed it away. And that pass doesn't make it to where it's supposed to make it to. Like, right. It's so ridiculous that it's over and over and over and over again that they cannot learn this lesson. And I tell you, Hayes, last year Hayes earned his money. This year he has not. He has not earned.
Heck is up with him, man. It's been like a complete 180 from last year to this year.
Yeah, I don't know. He had a couple of spurts, but
last year he had that knack just getting in front of that.
TK. Because I tell you, he has a couple of halfway decent shifts in the game, but he's like, where, what happened to the scoring prowess he had?
That's what I was saying today. For me, I figured TK was going to be the future too, but I'm sorry, 9 goals through this season is not good enough for TK at least.
Yeah, I'm going to answer this question, Ed. I'm going to answer this question, and because I feel fairly strongly about this. I am not going to blame AV this season. This season, I'm going to give AV the pass. However, his assistant coaches got to go. They got to go. They got to bring somebody else in here to change up the whole format. And the problem I have right now is, one, I don't trust Fletcher. I don't trust Fletcher. He didn't do very well when he was over there with the Wild, and I still firmly believe that all the shots are being called by Holmgren. And,
Mm.
I feel that in my gut because this feels and smells and looks like a Holmgren team. And the problem I have with Holmgren is that he can't win nothing. Holmgren stinks out loud. Could never win in juniors. Couldn't win in the WHA. Couldn't win in the NHL. Couldn't win as a coach, as an assistant coach. Couldn't win as a head coach. Couldn't win as a GM. Couldn't win as the vice president. Couldn't win as the president. And now he can't win as the senior advisor to whoever it is that he's advising. Until they get rid of him and half of the upper management of this team, the Flyers are not going to go anywhere. And so I don't trust Fletcher. I don't think he's doing a good job. I think that he got lucky last year where everybody got it put together because it was working a new system. It's kind of like the Laviolette syndrome, or even we can go back to the Keenan syndrome, where you go in there and you wake somebody up and you get there and you start making the guys motivated. But after a few minutes, they start getting tired about it. And then they don't want to hear it anymore. And then they start to trail off. And I feel like that's the problem. I feel like that's the problem with this whole franchise right now. And until they start to figure it out and get rid of the upper top, like Ed Snyder would be turning over in his grave right now. He's turning over in his grave. He would not allow this to happen. He would have fired Holmgren a long time ago because he would know he wants results. He wants to see something happen. And the fact that that they continually do not let something happen makes me angry and aggravated. Angry and aggravated. I love the Flyers. I bleed orange and black just as much as I bleed green. And I could tell you all the stories back from when I was 3 and 4 years old going to Christmas parties, playing with the Watsons kids, and they would come over to my house where the Watsons would be playing pinochle with my mother and my grandmother. So I know all of those guys. I know a lot of their kids. And I tell you, I have followed this team for as long as I can remember. I learned how to read by figuring out the box scores in the Bulletin and in the Inquirer and in the Daily News every day because my mother and my grandmother got all 3 of those newspapers. And I tell you, until they can figure this out, until they can get past all this, they ain't going nowhere. I'm off my soapbox now.
Philly sports guy, it's those moments why we appreciate you. Like, for a lot of us, sports is kind of a way of an escape from the reality of the world we live in. And for you, the Flyers have always been that for you. It's been always part of your life. And unfortunately, I feel for the older generation of Flyers fans because you have dealt with the bullcrap for much longer than I certainly have. The drought, we're over 50 years since we won our last Stanley Cup. And these days with the Flyers, not even the same as, even when I was a kid. When I was a kid, Flyers, if they weren't a Stanley Cup contender, they were making the playoffs and they were making at least the second round every single season. And now I'm lucky if my Flyers even get into the freaking playoff. At what point did this Flyers team turn into a standard of consistency in the NHL to now, I don't want to use the word joke. It is a little joke. This year, the way the Flyers kind of handled the Niskanen retirement and handled a team that over exceeded the expectations, it's the second round of the playoffs. What are you going to do? You sign Eric Gustafsson? Like that doesn't excite anyone. And they really didn't do anything this past offseason to improve upon a team that made it into the second round. We're now in this huge mess that the Flyers are in. This season is over. We got some of these up in here. And I don't know what the Flyers are going to do. This offseason, it reminds me a lot of the last offseason for the Philadelphia 76ers. What is this team going to do? Like, you do a Daryl Morey type of move if you want to get back into the playoff contention, Stanley Cup contention. And
there's not much that they're going to be able to do.
No.
First off, we got to hope and pray. I'm hoping and praying that Seattle takes Voracek, because I don't think that there's any way possible that we can get rid of him. There's no way that anybody else is going to take him. So I'm hoping that he gets picked up in the expansion draft.
What? I told
And
you.
then,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and then, like, so they got Giroux with 1 more year left on his contract, and that's it. So, I mean, after that, no more making $8.5 million. You got JVR. He's got 2 more years left to make an $8.5 million, and then you got Hayes, who's making some money. You got, so until you get rid of some of those big contracts, and they're so good at doing that, making these big ass contracts that we wind up stuck in for a long time. And you know what? The picks that they got, the Phantoms were doing okay. The Phantoms were actually doing pretty well. But you don't hear about the Phantoms anymore because the AHL isn't as big a deal anymore. There's a lot of people that just came up because they're allowed to carry these big taxi squads. And the taxi squads don't play, except unless you're on the club, unless you're on the ice with the Flyers. So if you're on the taxi squad, you got like 8 or 10 people practicing, but never seeing game time space, and that's the problem. So you got all these guys that aren't really, growing in the AHL. Like, because of the AHL, you'd be playing every day, and then you got to call up. Well, now they ain't doing that because they got this taxi squad now. That's for COVID. So the Flyers are systematically destroying everything that they did. And the truth of the matter is that even now, with only 3,000 fans in the stands, there's still empty seats. There's still empty seats. The 4 seats that I had next to me every time I go is empty. Nobody buys those seats. I know I'm going. I'm spending the money, but nobody bought those seats. Every game I went, nobody bought those seats. How is that possible? Flyers used to sell out every week. They used to every game. They used to be crazy like that. Flyers fans are the most loyal fan base in the world, as far as I'm concerned. They follow them. They'll follow them into the depths of hell to still love the Flyers. And everybody that I know that's a Flyers fan feels the exact same way. But I mean, this is getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous, and Comcast knows it. But you know what? It's going to start affecting their bottom line in their pocket. That's what's going to wind up happening. They're going to start to lose. They're going to start to lose season ticket holders because of what's happening. And you know what's going to really get under Comcast's skin? When the Sixers start bringing in more people than the Flyers do, because that's what's going to start to happen. Flyers are only going to start to get 12, 13,000 fans in the stands, and then all of a sudden Comcast is going to realize, because they've been complacent. And what happens when you get complacent? You suck. That's what happens. You start to suck. And that's what's going on right now.
I think this Flyers team this offseason, you're going to probably back in like the 2011, 2012 offseason when they got rid of like Jeff Carter and Mike Richards. You're going to see something similar like that to this offseason because it needs to happen. There needs to be some sort of trade there where you bring in just players that rejuvenate this locker room and just kick players in the ass and start playing to their full capability, kind of like what back. This Flyers team needs to make some big moves to kind of get back to where we all thought that they were going to be in the beginning of this season. But when we get back to Metro play, I mean, our division is still going to be tough. One of the division. We're in this East Division. We think this is tough. Wait till we get back to the Metro. So this offseason is going to be really important for the Flyers opinion. Even look at it right now. I mean, we got 4 Philly sports teams going at it, and the Flyers are at the bottom of the totem pole as far as relevancy with our teams because of just the way they've been. How can and you're talking about people not buying those tickets. Can you blame those people for not wanting to buy those tickets to watch, sit there for 3 periods hockey? I know I would sit out there, but I don't blame people for not wanting to spend that money to sit out for 60 minutes of hockey. It's a tough time right now for all sports with the restrictions, but for the Flyers right now, man, it's hard to get us out there. It really is. But I want good Flyers hockey. This city deserves better Flyer hockey. Wade Allison put a smile on my face. That's about it. Carter Hart looking better, put a smile on my face. Not much else though. Not much else.
Right. Beating Pittsburgh is always fun. And it was Carter Hart actually stopping all those guys on the, on the shootout.
Ladies and
And
gentlemen.
Giroux and Coots, I mean, it was like magic acts that they did in the shootout. That was fun to watch that a little bit and win in a shootout, which is something they never do. And beating Pittsburgh's always a lot of fun.
Right.
But, it's and then to come back, and I understand, Lions playing against the Capitals was definitely, ill advised. I understand you're stuck with him, and even Moose would have kept that a much closer game. Lions got beat by the same goal 3 times in a row. It was just like that same exact goal. He just couldn't get the pad up enough or whatever. It was just literally right over the pad on his stick side.
Okay.
And it was just 3 goals. It's the exact same way. It's like, man, it's like you got to play better than that. This is the NHL here. This isn't the AHL. That's why you got to be playing down there. That's why you never made it up here. So I'm interested to see how this offseason is going to go. I mean, I think Moose is going to retire. I mean, I think it's his time is done here.
Got to find a backup, man.
I am ready to get rid of Nolan Patrick. I'm thinking that it's time for him to go. He's probably going to get left out. To be honest, there's no doubt in my mind that everybody could be open to get picked up in this draft, in the expansion draft for Seattle. I'd leave everybody. Here's the people. I'd hold back Allison, one, because he's showing a little bit of fire. You know what I mean? I get you hold back Provorov because you need somebody who can play for 35 minutes a game, and he is. And Carter Hart. Those are the 3 guys that I keep. Everybody else, see ya. If they pick you, perfect. I hope that Seattle picks all of you.
Pretty much here. Oh man, it's gonna be interesting offseason. We'll see how good Chuck and Fletcher is good at wheeling and dealing. Wasn't that good at the trade deadline. But another thing too is I think this is a solid free agency class. So the Flyers should be able to bring in a player that can really help this team out as well. So we'll see how that goes. You can get your boy Matissa Ekholm, who a lot of Flyers fans wanted them to go trade out there. He'll be a free agent. You can go and make a move for him, but there needs to be some drastic moves here. And I hope Wade Allison's part of the future. TK's been really disappointing. I mean, I want TK to take on that role, be that guy that leads his team. Eventual seal on this jersey, but I don't see it now. And I hope he can come back next year and bounce back, get back to that 2019-2020 season. It definitely took a step back this year.
Yeah, I have serious problems with this whole franchise right now. And like I said, it starts at the very, very top. Again,
exciting, man.
Comcast on down. Like I said, always knew who the owner was of the Flyers. Right now, you don't know who the owner is. They don't even let you know. The president of this team is ridiculous. Like I said, you can't even figure. They try their best. They do everything that they can to make sure that you have no idea who they are. That's Dave Scott. Who the hell's Dave Scott? Right? Who is he? He's the chairman and CEO of Comcast Spectacor. That's who owns the Flyers. The chairman and CEO of Comcast Spectacor, Dave Scott. He's the one. He's the guy who's supposedly the president of this team. And then Valerie Camillo. Really? I have no idea who either one of them are. Never see their faces ever. And then president of hockey operations and general manager and alternate governor is Chuck Fletcher. I tell you, it was always the puck began and ended with Ed Snyder. And then you always knew who the GM was. All we see now is Chuck Fletcher. And how many times did you hear about the Minnesota Wild doing anything?
It's actually funny. I was talking about the other day. One of Chuck Fletcher's bad contracts was signing Zach Parise to a ridiculous contract. Zach Parise is still in Minnesota. And Minnesota has yet to do anything.
Right.
So there you go.
They can't do anything.
There you go.
So.
Oh, man, it's rough, dude. It's rough. We want it again. That's all we want.
I hear you. Well, listen, hey, listen, we're at our midway point, so we got to do a station identification. We will be back in 90 seconds. So please stay tuned. A lot more coming from the Philly Sports Show.
Yeah.
You're listening to Northeast Streaming Sports. A group of independent podcasts came together under one umbrella to give you a network that streams from Northeast, New York, down the East Coast to Louisiana, and across the Atlantic Ocean to the United Kingdom. Northeast Streaming Sports streams live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Can be seen on Twitter and Instagram. Audio carried on Spotify. With our own website for the best sports information, updates, commentary, and entertainment. Sports Scope, TGI Sports Talk, The Safety and the Sports Writer, The Philly Sports Guy, The Mac and Jack Sports Show, Stu's Wrestling Podcast, Four Stripes on Ice, Talking Baseball with Sal and Gioletti, Unscripted, The Big Shaw Sports Report, Frankie C Sports, Fantasy Football Face-Off, 12 shows and growing. There's one place to get your sports on Northeast Streaming Sports.
And we're back.
Yeah.
So we talked about all the bad stuff going on. Let's talk about some good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Sixers are first place by themselves.
And then
And and they had a couple of really good wins, although these teams that they're playing against seem to not want to play against them. They're trying to hold back their cards.
yeah, man. Yeah, that's just a real quick update here. Oh my god. So Brandon Belt of the San Francisco Giants just hit a 2-run home run off of Chase Anderson, so it's now 2-0 Giants in the top of the third inning. But on to your Sixers point here, yeah, everyone wants a piece of the big boys in town. Friday night's win against the Clippers, that was a dicey one. That was one that right off the bat the Sixers were firing on all cylinders. They jumped to an early lead. I think at one point they had a 17-point lead, and then the Clippers slowly were coming back. They were shooting pretty effectively. Rondo got into it as well, but the Sixers eventually closed it out behind Joel Embiid. Honestly, Philly sports guy, I don't know how you don't give the MVP to Joel Embiid. I don't care if he doesn't play the full games. There is no one in the NBA more valuable to his team than Joel Embiid. You watch the Sixers without Joel Embiid, it's a completely different team. It's a team that should be the 10th place team in the Eastern Conference, honestly. But when Joel Embiid's in there, you can't stop him. That footwork, it's too much for big men. He's too big for the little guys. He can shoot a mid-range game, the fadeaway. He could shoot a three. Three hasn't been working as much as of late, but he could still shoot it. He is an absolute mismatch, and I talked about it today on my podcast, Oi in Philly Sports. We were talking about, because obviously Golden State's in town tonight, which the Sixers are leading right now, but they're up by 10. I'm sorry. Golden State came back. They're now down. The Sixers are now only up by 3. But so Golden State a couple years ago, they kind of changed the game. Everyone was looking for all these 3-point shooters. You saw teams getting 4 good 3-point shooters on with a big man. You saw the Rockets try to reinvent the wheel by putting in putting a whole small lineup, a bunch of 5 shooters all out at once. But I think in today's NBA, we're getting back to the basics. Kind of what you're seeing in football. You're seeing it in baseball clearly now, but getting back to the old school style. Shooting is still really important in the NBA, and you still need that shooting. I agree with you, but you still need to play defense. And what a lot of people forget, when those finals championships, those guys play defense. Klay Thompson, a very underrated defender. You had Draymond Green. You had Iguodala, defenders there. Steph Curry can get a steal here and there. And I look right now, there's 3 teams right now who I feel have a good chance of being in the finals. That is us. That is the Los Angeles Lakers. That is the Denver Nuggets, because we're all built in a similar stature. It is deep teams. They on those teams, and it's the positionless basketball. And I think that the Sixers team has that right now. And I think that teams are starting to realize that, okay, we do need a big length is still important here, but there's a way you got to do it. The Sixers found their style. It's working right now. And honestly, I can't wait till Eastern Conference Final. I can't wait to play Brooklyn in the playoffs. I cannot wait to see the best offense versus the best defense. It's going to be like the 2002 Super Bowl, the high-flying Raiders offense versus that stifling Bucks defense. I want to see what it's going to look like. Is it true? Does defense still win championships? And we will find out soon enough. Hopefully the Sixers defense can get us to that point, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch right now.
I agree. And to be honest, I feel that the Sixers, I mean, I've said it all season long that I thought the Sixers were going to be number 2 coming out of the East, into the playoffs, and then they were going to win. Yeah, they're going to win the Eastern Conference and, go to play an LA team. I now think that they're going to wind up with the number 1 seed.
Right.
I think they're going to be with the number 1 seed. And the number 1 seed is going to make a little bit of a difference, although I think that we beat Brooklyn in Brooklyn. I don't think that that's a big scare for us. I think that we can spank them wherever. I think Brooklyn's scared of Philly. That's why they're not showing any of their cards.
I agree.
That's why every time that they play Philadelphia, that Philly, that they have guys sitting out or they're injured or, Kyrie's. What is up with Kyrie? Is he even going to play anymore? Is he's just being a puss? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think that the Sixers are going to beat them in 6 games. I think that's what's going to happen. And, I don't think anybody else can compete. And my thought is that the only team that really can stop the Sixers from winning the championship are the Clippers. I'm not afraid of Utah. I ain't afraid of the Lakers. Well, I feel like it's the Clippers.
So there was a scary moment as well this past weekend. Donovan Mitchell on a scary injury. I think they were playing the Pacers. I haven't looked it up again, but it was a pretty scary injury. He was having a tough time even walking off the court, but a lot of people believe like it's a serious injury, like season ending. But regardless, that's another team expected. Okay, so it looks like Donovan's going to miss a couple of games, but he should be good enough for the playoffs. It looked really bad. It really did. But when it comes to Donovan Mitchell that's another team. They just live and die by the 3. When you live and die by the 3, there's a way to stop you. So I agree with you. There's not really much teams that scare me. Not ready to take a beating, you're going to lose the series. The Sixers are going to make this a living hell for, especially if we get that home court advantage. Woo-wee! You do not want to come to Philadelphia. And I don't care how many fans we have in the stands. We will make our presence felt, as we did on Wednesday.
Right.
Couple boos on the Philadelphia Union owner.
So, I mean, that is how that works. You know what I mean? He's when he's coming as an opponent, that's the way it happens. But because we didn't boo them at all on Wednesday.
No, we did not.
On Wednesday, there wasn't any boos on our side of where we were.
Well, there was boo for one man, Mr. Ricardo Blanco, who was nowhere to be found in chess on Wednesday night.
Yeah, he was definitely. Actually, he did change shirts with somebody. So yeah, they did give up the shirt. So we might as well. I'm going to roll the clip because it's a longer one here. So we're going to have 5 minutes of this, and this is courtesy of FS Fox. I mean, they did. This is their clip, so I have to give them their credit here. We do definitely put them out there. But let's roll this clip. This shows you all the highlights from the Philadelphia Union, and then we will sit back and talk about this because it was a lot of fun to be there. So here we go. We're gonna go live with this.
Chester, Pennsylvania, the site of the second leg in this CONCACAF Champions League round of 16 tie between the Philadelphia Union and Deportivo Saprissa. Defender there just couldn't find him on that cross. Good pressure. How to win it back. Lester Lane. Montero fouled. Yellow card. And here we go. It's bowling up a little bit from that first leg. There's Wagner involved again.
Well, if you had 35th minute on your bingo card, there you go. Check that one off. Oh, man. I mean, that is a bad tackle, too. I think he catches... Oh, gosh. I mean, that's a red card. It's a red card. It studs above the ankle, straight leg, excessive force on that last slow-mo, too. I mean, so it's important to see it in real time as well. And but you can see he's stretched out, and they know, too. The Union players know. Wagner's there. Fontana's there. They're right behind it.
Left for them, a win or a draw, and they do advance. If Saprissa win 1-0, we'd go to penalties. Any other Saprissa win, they would advance. How about Fontana slipping through? Some contact. What's the decision? It's going to be a foul. Which side of Fox? Looks like it is going to be a penalty, says Fernando Guerrero. Penalty for Philadelphia. Montero scores.
In front of the Sons of Ben with a goal from Jamir Montero, just smashes it right down the middle. Cruz guesses, goes to his left, and he likes that one. Union 1-0.
Philly now in front of the river end, and their supporters. The header there, it is. It's Shabilko. It's 2 on the night. It's 3 on aggregate. What an incredible start to the second half for the Philadelphia Union.
Montero, clear header for Shabilko, who missed 2 or 3 good chances in that first half. Makes no mistake about this one. Just slams it home. Rises nicely. Times the header so well to meet it as he's going up and gets it and just dunks it past Aaron Cruz there. Nothing he can do about it.
Bedoya holds it in. Montero on the turn. Anthony Fontana!
This looks like he's going to lay it back. Oh, no, and it's actually the left back, Cortez, who was late to get up, that keeps him onside. The finish is excellent, and he's deserved one tonight. Been really active, involved in the game, linking up well up front with Shabilko. The run is so good here. He times it so well and allows for the space and the play to develop. Montero slips it in, takes it across this goal, past Cruz, into the back of net, 3-0 Union. Really good finish, knows where the goal is, doesn't even need to pick his head up and look. Knows exactly what he wants to do.
18-year-old academy product for Saprissa. Just a misplay there. Chance for Montero. Heavy first touch. Got back to it. Montero puts the seal on it. 2 goals for Montero. 2 assists as well. What a night for the Union.
For the Philadelphia Union. Does so well once again. Espindola thinks he can get there. Nope. See you later. Bye-bye. Back of the net. Doop, doop, doop. All night long for the Philadelphia Union. They have looked so good in this second half. 4 goals to the good. Montero once again, just his composure here in this moment, sets up Cruz like he might come back to the near side, instead opens up those hips so nicely and just passes it into that far corner. What a night for him. He has been excellent.
And that will end it. The Philly Union, scoreless in the first half, explode in the second half, and cruise into the quarterfinal in their first ever appearance in the CONCACAF Champions League. 4-0 on the night over Deportivo Saprissa of Costa Rica. 5-0 on aggregate.
For the best soccer content.
Doop, 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 doop.
And all
Doop,
those
doop,
goals
doop.
happened right in front of us.
Yeah.
When he hit that flag, that was literally, I could have spit on him if he was, like I said, I could have literally hit him with the flag. Because he was right in front of us that entire time. That all 4 of those goals happened right there in front of the Riverside, in front of the Sons of Ben, who were not quiet the entire game. And me as the Philly sports guy, everybody knows, if you've been around me, you know that I'm a loud guy. It's hard for, like I said, I usually can beat everybody around me. I had to learn the songs. Yeah, I didn't know the songs. I can't just go in there and start yelling and screaming and carrying on. Got to learn a little bit. So I
You'll
was
get there.
fairly quiet, but they gave me a really big flag, and I was waving that flag all second half. It was a lot of fun. You know what I mean? It was just a lot of fun.
That is awesome. Just real quick, I've said this enough to the Philly Sports Guy, but just really want to thank on the Philly Sports Show. I want to thank the Philly Sports Guy. I think everyone who's watching knows how important the Philly Sports Guy is to Philly sports. Being able to see the Philly Sports Guy dressed up as the Philadelphia Union, representing Philadelphia soccer team on a global stage, quite honestly, on the CONCACAF Champions League. That's a global, if you ask me. It was truly special. It meant a lot to, I know, talk to my Union fans. It meant a lot. Seeing you there wearing the gold, wearing the blue, it felt right. And it's people like you that are going to continue making the narrative that this is a 5-sport city, and I truly believe you do. And I can't wait. I can't wait. We're gonna be back there next Saturday. But I really just wanted to do it on the air. Thank you so much to the Philly Sports Guy. You mean the world to Philly sports. So thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that to me, but I have to give the thanks to the Philadelphia Union. I mean, it was hard to find a jersey that would fit me.
It looked good.
And so it was so like I had to reach out to them specific. And I tell you, the photographer, she's like, you're the Philly Sports Guy. I'm like, yeah. She goes, I'm the one that sent you the jersey. And I'm like, well, it's what fits. It's what fits. Because I was having a hard time. Soccer players are smaller than me.
Yeah, they really are.
So it was a little hard to find it. But I really got to thank them for saying, hey, we want to be part of the Philly Sports Guy thing. We're in Philly too. The stadium is literally right down the street from my house. Literally right down the street from my house. I can get there within 5 minutes. If I wanted to walk, I could. I don't walk anywhere, but that's beside the point. And to be part of that, and like I said, I wasn't as loud as I normally was because I didn't know the song.
You'll get there.
But it was a lot of fun, and they don't stop. They don't quit the entire time. They have guys with megaphones walking back and forth, doing their thing. And it was a lot of fun. So I have to thank my buddy Chris for getting me the ticket to go to the game. And him and his girlfriend. The girlfriend had not met me before, and she's like, "Wow, you are everything that I heard you were." You know what I mean? And then they give me the big flag. The Sons of Ben. They're like, "Hey, if we gave you a really big flag, would you fly it?" Who are you talking to? Absolutely, I would fly it.
Of course we would. Of course.
And then to watch that second half unfurl the way it did, literally it was awesome to just be a part of and to pay attention to.
I agree with you. So it's funny because I had this conversation with Oscar from the Pandemic Crew on Saturday. In soccer, I enjoy the singing. I mean, obviously being Colombian, I grew up in that. But what people don't realize, our singing it benefits the players. Like, they feed off of that energy, and that's why we try to be as loud as possible. And it's important for us to be as joyful and as cheerful in those songs. It's not for ourselves; it's for the players, so we can win. We want our team to win every game. That's why, I know it sounds a little negative when you hear like Philly fans, talking trash to the opposing team. Part of it's why we love Philly sports. There's not many home field advantages like Philadelphia, because if you're not part of our team, we will let you know you don't belong here. So that's why I love it. But being down in Chester, being in the River's End, being with my Sons of Ben family, we want our team to win. We will do what it takes legally for our guys to get that W. But what I want to ask you, for those Philly sports fans who are kind of on the cusp of whether or not they should go down there or not, the general 4-for-4 fans go down to Chester and watch a game, watch the Philadelphia Union play.
I mean, anybody who's from Philly, they know that Chester gets a bad rap. So I understand where some of the apprehensions may come originally.
Right.
And if you have to come out of the city to come to a game and you have to park your car in Chester, first off, it's very well patrolled. You're not going to have any issues or problems with your cars in any way. It's not like going over to Camden where they just kind of let your cars be.
Right.
It's actually very well protected over there. They do not let anybody mess with anything over there because they're the union are very strict on how they want to have this done and how they make sure that. That being said, once you get beyond that part there, these games are fast. Yeah, so it's like think about it. When they kick off, you got 50 minutes, and it's a lot of running back and forth. When you're watching it on TV, it can get very boring because hey, it's like okay, they kick the ball, now the other side's got the ball, now the other side's got the ball, and then you got to figure out like what is offsides and why are they throwing the ball in, and what are some of the rules that come with that? Why are they bringing out a yellow card? What's the difference between the yellow and the red card? And I tell you what, if you watch this series, we didn't know that. We still don't know what that is from this series. But truth of the matter is that when you go to a Phillies game and the game only takes 2 hours and 20 minutes, you watched a great game. You're excited about it. It was quick. When you go to a Union game, it happens fast. So when you're going there, it may be 0-0, but they're not stopping the entire time. It's running back and forth. They're doing a lot of things in that hour and a half's worth of time, and it makes it much more worthwhile. Tickets are affordable, so down there, it's not something that you're going to be spending. Where you go, and you could spend. Go to a Flyers game, buying 2 tickets for a Flyers game puts you on the hook for about $250. You buy 2 tickets to a Union game, and you could probably get away by going under 100. So obviously, if you want to drink a lot of beer, then it's going to cost you more. But realistically, you could do that, and you could take your girlfriend out there and not spend all day. It's not going to. These games aren't going to take 4.5 hours, 5 hours long. It's going to be quick. And get there, you get in and out, and you get to enjoy a match on the pitch.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, you had all the good points there. It's a league as well, and this opening week for the MLS, wow, had so many amazing goals, some great games, some great surprises as well. So Wednesday at that game, as we saw the first half. It was a lot of feeling out period. There was a little drizzle going on as well. So it was a little moist on the field. But there was a couple opportunities for Kasper Shibilko, the starting striker for the Union, to get at goals. He couldn't get it through. The start of the second half, literally, it started just like that, like the goal one after the other. Fontana, you saw, gets the penalty, draws the penalty in the box. Shamiro nailed the goal. Kasper, usually the Union are not that good on corner kicks. They usually don't get goals on corner kicks, but in CONCACAF Champions League, Kasper hits the our boy Ricardo Blanco actually was supposed to cover Kasper Shibilko. He lost him, and Kasper was open, and he hit that ball perfectly with his head, gets the goal. Another great goal by Fontana and Jamiro to end it. Jamiro put himself on the map, and honestly, just from his Saprissa performances, he needs to be put in the early MVP race for the MLS. He's going to be playing in that number 10 role, the role that Brennan Aaron played last season. He's played this before. He played this in 2019, but Brennan was playing at a completely different level. That's why he's in Europe right now. So Jamiro, my God, in those 2 matches, he stole the job. Flat out, he stole the job. He is our number 10, and if he takes a dip in form, that's when you take him away. But you got to keep him there. And to me, he's an early MVP candidate. I'm just saying that was pretty impressive. But just to kind of talk about like what the significance of that series win for the Union, we represented Philadelphia on a continental level. I love my Philly sports, but the Philadelphia 76ers, the Philadelphia Flyers, or the Philadelphia Phillies will never say the same. The Union represented the beautiful city of Philadelphia on a continental level. They took down a Costa Rican giant in Saprissa. Yesterday, I was with my Mexican buddies who are all Liga MX. They literally were like, you guys just took down Saprissa. I'm not messing with you guys. And these are like big Mexican soccer fans. And now they're scared of Philadelphia. So what they did these past 2 Wednesdays, spectacular. Putting Philly on the map, absolutely spectacular. We'll talk about it next week, our next matchup, but we're going to stay in country. We have Atlanta, big matchup, really important, but we'll talk about that next week. And then we move on to Sunday. The Union opened up their MLS season in Columbus, facing off against the reigning MLS Cup champions, the Columbus Crew. Out with a 0-0 draw, but I'm here to tell you, I'm so happy with why. The Union's history in Columbus at MetFire Stadium, playing its final games this season in that stadium. Halfway through the season, Columbus is going to move into their new downtown Columbus Stadium, which is going to look really beautiful, by the way. But the Union had terrible history in MetFire Stadium. To be able to look like the better team, I'll be honest, look like the better team through 90 minutes of play. They walked out there with the point. I will take that. It was a solid outing. Jamiro still looked like Jamiro. There was a Jamiro in the first half had a problem. There was space between the two central defensive midfielders and the back. Jamiro, they couldn't find Jamiro in that space, and that kind of was a problem in the first half. But they had some good opportunities. And then now for the Union, after that draw, the second game, which myself and the Philly Sports Guy will be at home for the home opener for the Philadelphia Union season against Inter Miami. Team is looking to beat us. We kind of took care of them pretty well last year. We kind of embarrassed them a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. They brought in a star player from Europe last year, Gonzalo Higuain, played for some big clubs like Juventus, Napoli, Real Madrid, Chelsea. He came here last year in his first game in the MLS, came to Philadelphia. He's never even heard of the city of Philadelphia. After that day, he learned. We made him look like a rookie, youth academy player. And so I'm sure he's going to come in Saturday remembering that game, and he's going to become motivated. So it's the Union are a lot of fun right now. I know the Sixers, and trust me, I'm all on board with the Sixers. I'm all geeked up on my Sixers right now. This Union team is so exciting to watch. And we were talking about it too. This team plays like Philadelphia. The aggression they played with, they were so physical against the Saprissa team. The size, the height. Oh man, this team is Philadelphia.
Right. And just so that everybody else knows, who if you maybe had any interest in going to the game on Saturday, this is David Beckham's team. David Beckham owns Inter Miami.
That's correct, sir.
So he was all excited because he got to come down. So did they beat LA? I didn't check the score, dude.
The best match for the first week of the MLS by far had to be Los Angeles Galaxy and Inter Miami. It was a game that came down to the wire. There was an 81st minute goal by Sasha Kljestan, a former U.S. men's national team player, got it for LA Galaxy. For they finally have a good coach. They got a coach who's got a lot of pedigree in the MLS. He's won cups in the MLS. He was in Toronto, now he's with the Galaxy. He's trying to change over this culture. But even like a guy like Chicharito, who Mexican soccer fans adore, he's one of the best strikers in Mexican soccer history. My man scored 2 goals against Miami in Miami. The whole last year. So he definitely looked like he bounced back on Saturday and for this season. So Miami's going to come in on Saturday hungry. They gave it their all and they lost. So they're going to come in motivated. They're going to come in pissed off. They remember what Philly did to Miami last year. So it should be a good game, man. Should be a really good game. Curious what Jim is going to run with. Jim is kind of like the type of guy that likes to run with the same lineup, and that lineup kind of fails him. So I would expect the same lineup you've seen against Saprissa to roll in on Saturday against Miami.
Well, and then right afterwards, it's the 27th that they play against Atlanta.
Yes, they played.
It's quick. It's a quick turnaround. It's Saturday, and then it's that Tuesday. So, what do you think? I mean, that's going to have to come into play a little bit, where you may want to rest some guys. You may want to start pulling guys out a little bit faster than normal. How will that play into this game?
So one thing we were able to beat Miami with last year was our physicality. Like I mentioned, we were able to impose our will. You saw. They're just a physical team. Even in the midfield, they make things super congested for you. They make your life a living hell, to say the least. So if the Union come out with that mentality, go up early, get that lead, you can start resting some of these players. The good news is that there used to be only allowed Now you get 5 subs. So take advantage of that. A guy like Alejandro Bedoya, your captain, who's now getting older. He's not getting any younger. He's like 34 years old now, I believe. Rest him up. Rest one of your strikers up, but definitely use those 5 strikers. I don't want to. This is a team that we are better than, and considering the fact that we got a draw against Colombia, get that win, especially your first game at home. So definitely get that lead and then start getting those young kids out there. So Paxton has yet to see any minutes less. I would like to see him see some minutes. This is a guy who has been promised to be better than Brendan, who we just sold $6 million to Salzburg. So I want to see him out there. Jack McGlynn caught a lot of eyes on Wednesday when we were there. He looked really good in the second half, number 16. Quinn's very versatile. The man could play different positions, a forward, midfield. Those are different guys I want to see out there as well. Another bit of news for the Union, if that they have loaned out last year's signee, Matish Orovich. He's also known sexy season. He's been loaned out to a club that has been undisclosed. So you need the kids as far as the bench. There's a lot of kids on this team, a lot of kids on this team. So it'll be good to see what it should be a win. It should be a win.
Well, I'm excited. I'm going to be there again. We're both going to be there, loud and proud.
Yeah. I'll bring the sombrero this time.
It might be. Yeah, we don't know yet. We're gonna try to get it. It might be the famous four out there for Philadelphia in the corner on the river end. We're gonna try to make that work. Might be all 4 of the 4 majors in social media, in sports social media. The top 4 guys that you could think of. That might be all 4 of us over there. In the river's end on that in that corner, in that creeper's corner, as they call it.
That's old school. That's 2010 stuff, man. Those guys have been there since 2010.
So hey, I was glad to be hanging with them. And it's like and they didn't yell at me for flying the flag too much. So I was good about that. I didn't want to do that. Yeah, you did want to make sure they got to see it. So
you were built for Chester, man. You were so built for Chester. The passion, the energy, man, you're built for it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And the guys, like I said, the guys know me. They've seen me out there, and they've seen me painted up a couple of different ways. But this is the first time that they got to see me as the Union guy, and it was the first time I was the Union guy. So it was absolutely an awesome experience, and something that you have to. Being a Philadelphia fan, you know me, I'm a homer anyways. But you still got to go out there. You got it. This is a Philadelphia team. I know they play in Chester, but this is a Philadelphia team. They work hard. They do what they got to do. They won the Shield last year, and that means that they were the best in the MLS, and they won the Shield. They didn't do it in the playoffs, but you got to take those baby steps. And this is a team that is primed to possibly go to the MLS Cup this year. And that you're starting now. Right now, with the way that they're playing, there's a good chance that once we get past Atlanta, that we'll be the favorite for the CONCACAF. So
I would love that. So not to look too far ahead, but what I was talking about with my Mexican buddies yesterday. So if the Union get through Atlanta. Now, Atlanta has CONCACAF pedigree. This is their 3rd year in the tournament. But the Union get past Atlanta, there's a potential that Club America could be there in the semifinals. Now, Club America is the biggest club in North America. For me, they're the Yankees of Mexico. The championships speak for themselves. They are known worldwide. Able to play Club America, the biggest club in North America, that would be redonkulous. And we'll see what happens. But like I said, I'm just going with the flow. I'm enjoying this. I never expected the Union in its history, and to be here to get that win against a Costa Rican giant like Saprissa. I'm enjoying this, man. It's a lot of this team. Always brings a smile to my face. And I told you after Wednesday's win, I thought it was gonna be emotional because it's such a special moment that we're going through. But I had so much. It was just such a fun night. The goals, the energy. I was listening to some old chants that people were throwing out there. Back in the day, I think it was 3 or more goals. The Union would give you a free haircut from Sports Clips. That was a sponsorship. And someone behind me was like, "Yo, we want the free haircuts." And I was like, "You're an OG. I love you." It was great, but
I was wondering where that was coming from. And they got, "Hey, free haircuts." I'm like, ain't
yeah,
nobody cutting my hair. Ain't nobody
kind of,
cutting my hair.
kind of like with the Sixers and the Frosties. That's what the Union were doing back then with the free cut. Nah, it's been a lot of fun, and I can't wait for more. With the Union, it kind of. Remember when the Flyers came in the National Hockey League? Philadelphia kind of wasn't sure about hockey. What is hockey? Do we follow this? Why is there ice? There were so many question marks. But look at it now. There's a huge cult following for teams here in Philadelphia. And I'm sure the Union will get there as well once we start getting used to soccer here in America. The thing is, too, is like with the whole downtown stadium thing, Philly sports guy, like I'm the same way. Like I understand the importance of a downtown stadium, but when you're in Chester, like you understand, like I don't want to. I love that we're down there. Honestly, I feel more safe being in the corner Chester that we're in South Philly sometimes because no one really bothers you. It's just really us. We still have the brewery right next to the practice field, which is great beer as well. It's just chill vibes, honestly.
Yeah, and like it says, when you get down there, you don't even realize that you're in Chester because
Right.
it's on the waterfront, and the waterfront's a lot different out there than it is when you think of Chester in general. And I know that Chester always gets a bad rap, and there are some spots in Chester that it's are tough as everywhere. But I tell you, the Union has actually done a lot for the city of Chester, and they've started to beautify a lot of that area in there. And like I said, this is on the waterfront, so you see some of the architecture and stuff like that you don't get to see anywhere else. They got the old electric company, the electric factory, right there. That whole building has been redone, and you got the tugboats. Hey, my buddy Tugboat Joe, he has his tugboats right around the corner from where they play. So it's the water is right there. You could actually bring your boats and actually listen to the game. So it really is a whole different experience. And don't let the words Chester, Chester, Pennsylvania, change your mind about that. It really is something that you really want to go check out. And the field is beautiful. The field is gorgeous out there. So, and they really do take good care of it. The practice field, you can't even walk on the practice field. It's not like you can just go walking in there and seeing what's going on, but you can see the practice field right there. And then they got a brewery right down the street, a block away, so that you could go have your beers and then go over and watch the game.
Absolutely, man.
It is a much different experience than going into Philly, to those stadiums and such
Sports
like that.
complex.
It is a fun, and like I said, everything's protected, so don't feel threatened to bring your car there or whatever. It really is a worthwhile experience.
I mean,
make sure that everybody's taken care of in there.
If you really, we also have Harrah's like literally 2 minutes down the road too. So
that's
you pick
where
your
the
poison.
after party is after we win.
Pick your poison, man. Absolutely. And we're getting a cheesesteak spot. I saw they're starting to do construction right. So street, but it's kind of that first street where the stadium is. They're opening Union Steaks. So we might get a cheesesteak spot soon enough.
Oh, there we go. See, they're growing leaps and bounds out there. So definitely want to check it out. Like I said, it's going to be sooner than later that they're going to open up these stadiums for 50 or 75% capacity, or maybe even full 100%. God forbid. Let's maybe go 100%. So when you get the chance, definitely go check them out. It's worthwhile, and it really is a fun team. It really is a fun team.
Oh yeah.
And that's what makes us 5 for 5. But I want to talk a little bit about another team. I thought that they were starting a little early, and they weren't. Actually, I was misinformed originally. But I found out 2 different teams. There is a professional frisbee football team that we found out about on Wednesday, but I wanted to talk about specifically, there are the Philadelphia Phantoms. Now, this isn't a hockey team I'm talking about. This is a professional women's football team, and I ain't talking lingerie team.
Oh, man.
These are professional women's football team. The WNFC is the Women's National Football Conference, and they have, I believe, it's 12 teams. It is countrywide, and these girls play full pads and everything. Their stadium, they play at Simon Gratz High School. The tickets are only $15 to go watch them, and this is real football. You watch the women beat the hell out of each other. So you want to go check that out. It's something, I know I don't talk about it much. I have not seen the games. I know they just started this week, this past week, and they had a preseason game. So they haven't been able to get in there yet. And with Philadelphia, the COVID restrictions are a little tough right now. So, but I want you to look up the WNFC. You can find it on Facebook, on Instagram. You can go look it up. You can Google it, and they have a website and everything. Please check it out. I tell you, the women professional sports never get enough notoriety at all. These women, I know it's called professional. These women have to go pay to play on the team. They got to buy their own pads. They got to buy their jerseys. They got to buy the helmets. And then they go out and they beat each other up. And then they got to drive their own cars back home or pay for the bus to take them back home again. So these women are very dedicated women. And they, like I said, and they're real football players. They are out there in the full pads and everything. And they deserve your support. So definitely it's one of those things that I felt real strongly about. I mentioned it, or you may have seen a TikTok or an Instagram post a little bit ago. I wanted to let you know that Philadelphia does have more professional teams here, and some of those teams deal with some women. And they never get enough talk. And I wanted to make sure to give them a shout out because these women work hard. They've been practicing hard. They want to go for the championship this year, and I felt that I wanted to show my support. So I haven't been able to get out there to a game yet, and I can't get myself a jersey because I just, again, I haven't gotten out there yet. But don't worry, I'm going to get one, and you'll see me out there loud and proud rooting on the Philadelphia Phantoms with a Z. And like I said, that's a Women's National Football Conference football team.
I love that, man. We're here for the Philadelphia Phantoms. I will say, for me personally, I've been a bit advocate for women's soccer, basketball. For me, I would be more into the league if there was teams in Philadelphia. You know me, I'm not the type to just sit, watch a random NBA game or NHL, NFL. What am I missing? NHL and NBA. If we have a women's WNBA team, a women's WNBA team, I would be all on board to watching it. It's still a good product. And these women deserve our support as well. They are really talented, and I'm here for the Phantoms as well. If this is the start of it, so we can start getting everything. We can start getting NWSL. We can start getting WNBA. So be it. But the Phantoms deserve your support, ladies and gentlemen. And they're Philadelphia, and they will get our support for sure. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, you can definitely check out their website at WNFCfootball.com. There's 20 teams in the league. They're sponsored by Adidas. They do have, like I said, their jerseys are cool. I'll definitely have some clips for you next week to kind of show you because, like I said, I am going to push them a little bit because, like I said, they don't get any support whatsoever, and it's like I'm an arm wrestler, and I'm not a great arm wrestler. Trust me, when I go up against real arm wrestlers, I get my butt whipped. So, but don't matter if you don't arm wrestle, I'll whip your ass. But that's beside the point. Most people that go watch arm wrestling tournaments are arm wrestlers and their families. That not many people go and see arm wrestling. And arm wrestling used to be a fantastic thing that you would see on Wide World of Sports. It would show it on TV all the time.
I remember that, yeah.
And now you don't hear the notoriety anymore, and it's a shame because it really is a fun sport. It lasts 4 or 5 seconds sometimes, or even less. It takes more time to get their hands together, and then they go and it's done. You know what I mean? But ultimately, to view that 2 seconds of time where they say go and they start to battle each other. And when you have a really good war where they go back and forth for a minute, like again, like the movie Over the Top, that was like Rocky 2.5. You know what I mean? So, everybody kind of remembers that. It was worthwhile to see that. It's the same thing with these women's sports. I mean, they never get the notoriety, they never get the recognition, and these women are out there, busting their butts, doing something that they love. You know what I mean? And that's not something that I can, like I said, I have to be able to support them because they're Philly. They are Philly. You know what I mean? And they're just trying to do their city proud, just like we are. And you know what? When they win a championship, they're not going to get a parade. They're not going to even, we may get lucky if they put it on the news that they win.
That's true.
Those are the types of things that are important. And that's why, like I said, nobody's heard of them. You know what I mean? Nobody's ever heard of them. Like I said, it took me, I didn't realize about the Frisbee football, professional Frisbee football team. But I did hear about these guys. And I thought that was, something worthwhile.
Of course.
So
I'm intrigued. I want to watch. Do they have highlights on YouTube?
Yes, they do. Not necessarily on YouTube, but you can go and you can check it out on the website. They have it in the Philadelphia Phantoms. If you go to the WNFC site, they have all 20 teams. You can definitely go to each one of those teams and kind of see what's going on. It's worthwhile. I watch it at some of them hits. I mean, they've had a couple of good plays. Texas won it last year, and I hate Dallas. I hate Dallas. So I'm not. Of course, if Philly is going to be playing Dallas at any time, I want Philly to win.
Yeah, boy.
No,
I'm with you, man.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
I agree.
Mike keeps asking me about
Yaroslav
for the Flyers.
Or the Flyers.
No, we're not going to get him.
He's a goalie, right?
Yeah, he's a goalie.
Why would we get
No,
him?
he's not coming to Philly. Yes or no? No. We got Carter Hart. He's going to be fine. Carter Hart's going to be fine.
Halak is like started. We need backup, not a starter.
Yeah, exactly.
He's too expensive.
I know that they were talking about trying to bring in the goalie from Detroit. I'm like, no. And it could have been Halak. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even think he plays for Detroit, but no, he plays right now he plays for Boston right now. And he's like 35 years old. Why would we want him? As a backup, I guess, maybe again with we can just keep Moose. Moose is only 34.
Are we really still on trying to move on from Carter Hart? Are we serious?
Yeah, I hear you, Mike, as a backup. I guess if Moose retires, you could kind of think of it like that. To be honest, I wouldn't mind bringing in. I think that Mike Quick is up in contract. He may be.
Holy crap! It's like you just read my mind. I was thinking about what about Mike Quick? It's crazy.
So I wouldn't mind trying to pull him in. To be honest, the Flyers got so many other positions that I got to worry about right now. I don't care if Lyons is the backup right now. I want them to feel and figure out who they're going to put. I want a sniper. I want a real sniper. I want a real defenseman, a shutdown defenseman. I'm tired of that. And I want somebody to teach this team to shoot first and not pass the puck. Jonathan Quick, not Mike Quick. I got football and hockey messed up. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. It's Jonathan Quick, and I think that he's a free agent this year. I didn't hear about him re-signing, but I could be off. He could be next year, but
yeah, they still have a couple of those older players from those Stanley Cup runs. I think Dustin Brown's still there, Kopitar's still there, but
Kopitar's the captain of that team. So
yeah, I would take Jonathan Quick on a backup role. I mean, I think you still need that backup. If Vigneault is still going to be here, it's clear he likes to play the two goalies. And I think Carter Hart's role next year is going to increase, but you still want that backup guy.
Right. And I think Carter Hart, this was his sophomore slump, and I get it. They all go through this. Everyone, including Martin Brodeur, probably one of the best goalies that ever lived. Bernie Perrant, same way. He was so bad that they traded him away and then got him back. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like all these goalies go through this early in their career. They learn from it, and then they're able to move forward. And that's what's going to happen here. I have
I
no
agree.
doubt in my mind that Carter Hart is going to be our goalie for the next 10 plus years.
Let's just work on trying to shore up that defense, man.
So
Make that goalie job easier.
I don't know. Mike, you are way off with your hockey. You're back in like 4 or 5 years ago with your stuff. I don't know what you're talking about, Mike. I'm not even going to put your stuff up there because it sounds ridiculous. So should have kept Talbot. Okay, yeah, we should have kept Talbot.
He's not even in the league anymore.
Yeah, exactly. He did that well. So he's smoking a little bit too much of that funny stuff. Anyways, but what a great show here! And
Yeah,
listen,
man.
it's been a lot of fun. We got a few more minutes left to go. I just want to let you know I want to thank everybody for tuning in for us today. We got coming up. We're on the Zodiac Network. If you haven't seen that, I know that right now it's only on Apple TV. Roku hasn't really gone live yet. That's going to go live on April 30th. They're going to have a going live party that we're going to be a part of, or at least I'm going to be there at the draft. It's going to be on a Friday night, so I'm going to be hopefully at the draft going live there and kind of get started. And then after that, we are going to be live on Roku and a number of other stations for Zodiac TV. So if you haven't already, download Zodiac TV on your Roku station, and I believe you could also get it on some Samsung TVs, things like that. You want to download it. It's a free station. You want to check it out, and you'll get to see my pretty face and El Parcero's beautiful mug up there every Monday from 7 to 9. You know, that's how we do it. It's one of those things where we're talking Philly sports because they give us 2 hours to talk Philly sports every Monday. We got lots to talk about.
Before we do sign off, just want to give a quick update for our that are on right now. So right now, Phillies are in the bottom of the 5th with the Giants. They're still down 2-0. They've already pulled Chase Anderson. We saw David Hale finish the top of the 5th. And then the Sixers and the Warriors right now are tied up there halftime, 55-55. Here we go. We got the stat line here. It looks like Wiggins has 8 points right now. Steph Curry, Philly sports guy, you're not ready for this. He's 20 points and one. Damian Lee has 12 points off the bench. For the Sixers, I'm sure Joel's been doing his thing. Let's see here. Nope, too far.
Yeah, but the more telling thing about Steph Curry is he's got 0 rebounds.
You know he's not.
He doesn't even sniff inside the arc. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, the arc? No, I ain't going near there.
Joel, solid outing, 17 outings so far. Seth Curry, 3 for 5 from the 3-point line. He's got 15 points right now. So it's the battle of the Curry brothers. Who will be the better brother? I love it. We didn't get that matchup in Golden State, so we get to see it tonight in South Philly.
There we go. Here's a little more shout out to the Sons of Ben. Sons of Ben movie has been out, and he recommends you check it out. That's coming from our movie guru, Ian, who's also a big sports guy.
I agree. Everyone check it out. It used to be on Netflix. I think it's on Tubo. If you Google it, you can find it. But it's really good. It's really well done. There's a brief history of Sons of Ben and the Philadelphia Union. Essentially, without Sons of Ben, we wouldn't have the Philadelphia Union. So really good to watch for sure, guys.
Well, and just so that you know, so if you ever go back in history, the most championships that were ever won by Philadelphia team was done by soccer teams.
Right.
And there's been a number of different Philadelphia teams. So when growing up, I remember the Philadelphia Fury.
That's right.
And then for the indoor soccer league, it was the Philadelphia Fever.
Yeah.
I bet you if I go downstairs in my basement and I go through all my sports memorabilia, I could pull up a pennant for the Philadelphia Fever.
That's right. It kind of sucks that I think the growth of the internet has helped the growth of soccer in America. being able to see those games in Europe or even in South America and Mexico too, has been able to help the league and give a blueprint for our league to try to grow it. Back then it was just tough. I mean, soccer's never been really popular in America, and it's slowly starting to get popular now. And now the Major League Soccer has some stability. It's been growing every year. Just the sponsorship partners. I mean, we got Kevin Durant here, one of the owners. In Austin, you got Matthew McConaughey, who's one of the owners there. In Houston, James Harden is a part owner. In Seattle, Russell Wilson and Sierra are part owners there. So, and LAFC, Will Ferrell, Magic Johnson. So it's definitely growing, and it's crazy where those days of NASL, you had Pelé with and Beckenbauer with the New York Cosmos, and to where we at now. It's great. It's great to see American soccer grow for sure.
And that it came back on the map. Like I said, the Philadelphia Fury. I mean, I don't remember ever watching a game. I don't think they ever got any TV. If it was on the old channel 48.
Hey.
And that's going way back in the day. I don't even remember. I don't even know if 48's even a channel anymore. So
playing at the Vet, right? They used to play at the Vet.
I want to say they played at Franklin Field, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that even before that, they may have played at JFK. But it was just one of those things. But I tell you, Ian, you could say all you want, but that's not. They still. There was a team that won 15 championships, and they were out of Philadelphia. And I want to say it was the Ukrainian. It was the
Ukrainians.
The Philadelphia Ukrainians. And if you look them up, they won like 15 world championships. And I'm talking real world championships, not like, hey, this is the league here. They were beating teams across the world. Now, this is back in the 40s and 50s and stuff like that. But that's just a little piece of history.
There's another team that's got a lot of history in this area. It's not Philadelphia, but the Bethlehem Steel. For a lot of those Union fans that live out there, they that's like a cult following, and they're kind of upset that the Union did away with. I'm still the Union's second team, like the USL team, but the MLS is going in a different direction. Their USL team has become like a development team for the league team. So now it's called Union 2. They did away with the Bethlehem Steel. They're out of Bethlehem, but Bethlehem Steel have a lot of history in American soccer. 2012, the Union brought out the alternate kits. It was Bethlehem Steel. It was a black and red. It looked spectacular. If anyone has one of those kits, I will buy it off of you. But Bethlehem Steel, another club that has a lot of history here in the Philadelphia area.
So yeah, just to let everybody know that it's not just
We've been a soccer city.
Poor guy. I know all about Philadelphia sports history, and just so that everybody else knows, the Philadelphia Freedom still play here. By the way, that's a tennis team, that professional tennis team that was started here by Billie Jean King, and she used to be the owner of the team. So
that's what's up, man.
That's Philadelphia sports. We cover the entire gamut. That's what you get here from the Philadelphia sports, the Philly Sports Show.
Yes, sir.
And listen, guys, I really do want to thank everybody for joining us. Coming up next is on both Northeast Streaming Sports and Zodiac TV is Frankly Speaking Sports. Definitely check him out. He's got a different take on everything. He ain't talking Philly, so we'll let him go a little bit. But he's actually a good show to check out. So definitely check him out. Again, it's Frankly Speaking Sports on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network and Zodiac TV. For everybody else, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week on the Philly Sports Show.
See you guys.
Good night, everybody.